your policy direction, it's coming from the wrong person. According to them, it shouldn't be Mela Kyari. It should either be the president himself, who has made himself Minister for Petroleum, or Timi Pre Silva, who's Minister of State for Petroleum. Shouldn't come from Mela Kyari, who is the MD for NNPC.
NNPC. You see, for me, I think, most frankly, that both the APC administration and the PDP administration, none has been squeaky clean on this issue of subsidy. Because as it stands, a lot of Nigerians don't even know whether there is subsidy or not. Even when the PDP was there. There's a way, you see, it's like they shrouded it in secrecy. Whatever is actually paid for those who are recipients of this. So for me, with all the words of Olobodio there, it looks like it's a tit-for-tat reprisal. Buhari condemned their own subsidy regime and called it fraudulent. And so,
but when he came on board, he did not revoke it. He went on with it. So they're saying that, well, that was the stance for them to pill for money.
Thank you. So the PDP is just giving him what he gave them in his own kind.
Right.
For me, all those things don't mean anything. I expected Olobodio to tell us how fraudulent it is. What happened here, what happened there, and all that. But he just merely rounded it up by saying that in their own regime, the APC condemned it.
All right.
So he has condemned the APC. That's all.
Okay. Fine, first in a minute.
Yeah, I don't know how opposition is played in this part of the country, and like some people will say, whether they need to go and study how to play opposition. Now, opposition is supposed to be based on criticism, not abuses. Now, when you criticize, you find fault in something, then you proffer solution to how that should have been handled. And I think that is where the PDP should focus. Because as it is now, all of us are on the same page, almost with the PDP, if not the angle they are coming from that. If anything that has to do with subsidy crosses this period, that there is a fall in the cost of crude oil in the international market to the extent that even the pump price in the country has crashed, then there is a fraud. But I think the federal government is also talking towards that direction, and there is nothing like subsidy anymore. But I know that for the 16 years that the PDP has sway in this country, more money would have been siphoned than what the APC has siphoned, which they cannot say they have not. Although the burden of proof lies on his alleges. Yeah. I know they have alleged this. I know this is between 6 to 7 years of their stay in power. I know that they can't say nothing has gone underground. But I know that of the PDP has been more than that of the APC. But then, in all, they should free Nigeria of this subsidy at this point in time.
All right, and got your thoughts. So we'll also have joining us Ken Wike. He's a political analyst and associate professor of political science at the Ignatius Natural University of Education, Rumo Lumini. Good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so what are your thoughts here? PDP's position on the subsidy removal?
Yeah, riding on what the last speaker said, for me, it's or the last two speakers anyway. What the PDP is merely doing is giving back to what was given to it, some years back. Like they all said, if you want to play opposition, of course, the APC also did that, to the PDP when it was in power.
Yes.
I remember Lai Mohammed, who was the spokesperson, for the APC then. There were a lot of allegations, made against the PDP, which were not proved and all that. So I think, like last week I said, in this part of the world, and I also observed that even in some advanced climes, where people tend to criticize without having some facts. Sometimes I think I usually think it has to do with more with us anyway. But it also happens in other climes where politics, is all about what you get out of it and nothing more. So I think that what the spokesperson of PDP has been doing, merely the same thing that APC did at their own time. And so for me, there's no need to worry myself over such things. And like the last speaker also said, this is a time, for us to really deregulate, the downstream sector.
Okay, great. The APC did it, just like PDP did it. Amazing. But I don't know. It just for me, it just seems as if ignoring the enormous amount of money that has been siphoned just because we want to move on to better times is cheating on the Nigerian people. I think that in any which way, we should find an agency that will take this head on and reveal those who have taken the monies they have, make them pay, and punish them as much. I can't imagine that we will just conclude on, well, PDP did it, APC did it, those guys took less, these guys took more, or debate on that, and that we're not pushing for relevant agencies to take this on and make sure that any government or any system is challenged by that fact and exposes the great gross that was done to Nigerians and make sure that those behind it are brought to book.
See, Annie, for me, like I said when I concluded, I said what we need is full deregulation. And so
even if we get full deregulation, they pass. What happens to those people? All that money.
Now, hang on. You see, there appears to be a very big cabal, in that sector that you even find it difficult. It's that, there are times that you have sharp practices going on, even in other places where the more you look, the less you see. Nigerians are too smart. So at the end of the day, you even want to look at the books, even those agencies you are talking about. They'll look at the books. The more they look, the less they see, because we have, those who are very, very sharp in manipulating.
So what
the process.
is that an admittance to our incompetency?
Of course.
Then that's what I'm saying. That is a shame that even we as a people will accept that we're incompetent. So let the people go with that money.
Is it the first time that we're incompetent?
No, it's not the first time that I know that we're incompetent. But it's the first time that I'm going to hear that, yes, we are incompetent and will remain in our incompetency.
We want to remain in our incompetence.
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
I really don't want to.
For me, I don't know how relevant the agency, as you were saying, can be. Because I think the agency that's very relevant also, that tracks financial leads, is CFCC and ICPC. In charge of APC is using them now, much as the PDP used them in their own time. Now, if you bring out, let's say, EFCC, now say, probe this federal government, can they do a good job of it? For me, I doubt. The same way that EFCC, run by a PDP then, may not be able to do. No, let me finish
Hold
so
on,
that
Emmanuel,
you understand what you have.
I understand
what
completely. I'm just trying to say this because, time just a little. I know that if you say the agency should probe the government on board now,
yes,
because of the system we have, they might not be able to do it.
Thank you.
But can they probe the government in the past that did that?
Yeah.
Can they come up with figures? Then perhaps we can also get other agencies who are not attached to this government in any form, who are kind of their own investigations, hoping that we get another system that comes on board after this, and we can prosecute.
No, let me conclude. You see, why I'm saying this is, for me, it's like any government uses any apparatus to maybe favor it. And like you're saying, yes, they can probe PDP. But the only solution that could bring holistic probe is if another party, a neutral party from these two, can win election in this country. Is there anyone? I don't even know their names.
Okay, all right, let's move on.
I don't even know their names if they are there.
Let's move on. Buhari's regime, a monumental fraud. That's from the PDP. It's also saying here that, the subsidy regime, we just read that now, so it's a monumental fraud. Let's move on to this 20,000 naira cash to poor Nigerians. I wish this had said this. Onosoke. He says it's another charade. Former Delta State governorship aspirant Chief Sonny Onosoke yesterday described the 20,000 naira palliatives being reportedly paid to poor Nigerians by the President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government as another charade aimed at looting the country's treasure at a critical time when the world was battling to contain the spread of the dreaded coronavirus pandemic. Onosoke, in a statement yesterday, said nobody has acknowledged receipt of the 20,000 naira cash palliatives. Adding, one unfortunate thing about this Buhari-led All Progressives Congress APC federal government is its penchant for telling lies and spewing media propaganda, hence they cannot be trusted. How many poor Nigerians have you seen acknowledging the receipt of a lot of 20,000 naira from the federal government? coming to say they've started the payment of 20,000 to poor Nigerians without any single proof is a big lie.
I think that guy just nailed it, because perhaps I've been asking. I've not heard.
But there've been
anybody.
pictures, and
Oh my
I
God.
doubt. Hold on, I doubt if the most vulnerable and the very poor that they have now are people who will be on social media spaces talking about the 20,000 naira
for them.
Yeah, and that is what the pictures we have been seeing.
See, for me, the only area at least we saw was that way in Abuja.
I've seen
where
that
the
of
minister-
Anambra. I remember after making a lot of noise about it, I saw pictures from Anambra, I saw pictures from River State.
Okay, you've seen that, but I think if federal government have been able to pay others apart from that of Abuja, let them also state for Nigerians to know with evidence. For me, federal government has succeeded, if ever they are paying, in giving to those who are not the true poor of the nation. There are those who are poor, but they've not received anything. So what kind of thing is that?
But you know, I'm very sure that since they said they captured 1 million poorest of the poor,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have captured everybody who falls into that category. They did say they're moving on with the figures. They're hoping that by the next time they get to pay, they will have got it to 2.5 million people.
The yardstick they are using is very blurry for me.
All right, then. Fine, first in a minute.
Yes, if we are not seeing a lot of people come forward to say they have received 20,000 naira, then to an extent, I think the poorest of the poor are the people receiving it, because those people don't have smartphones. Where they are, they don't also have internet connection. And people around them, I don't even think they have access to electricity to the extent that they can even be able to voice some of these things. But then I think it is high time, people go on the field to find out from people. If you receive, let us know. Call communities, villages, reach out to people if you receive, let us know. That will compile some of these statistics and then get to know whether the people that actually receive from the confirmation we are going to get are actually the poorest of the poor. But the few days within which billions left the coffers of the federal government was shocking to me.
Yeah, got you on that. Ken Weke?
Fine face. I'm going with you this morning so much, for me, like you said, it's really difficult to assess these ones because they do not have access to the social media. Again, he said, this money, 20,000. By the time you calculate how many people you dish out 20,000 each, you get to that figure quickly, easily. So that's not even a problem to me. You see, rather than even distribute this kind of money, share this kind of money to, how do you even determine who is the poorest of the poor? I don't understand.
Good.
Do we have, data, that you can fall back on? Or probably you go to IDP, the IDPs and all that, and then you begin to say, oh, these ones are the, okay, of course, you can also see vividly that they are living in squalor and they are living, they are really in need. Those ones you can see. So it's also difficult to attain to everyone you think that is poor, because sometimes you see somebody who is glittering, you do not know that he has nothing to eat and all that.
Like the picture of one person I saw receiving 20,000. That person was glittering.
Oh, it's glittery, like Annie and all that.
No.
And so at the end of the day, it's very, very difficult to determine because we do not have database to fall back on. And so how did they, apart from the IDPs and all that you can at least find evidence of payment and all that. So the other ones, how can you? You talked about River State.
But is that not the point? Is that not where the federal government must be as transparent as possible?
Of course.
To ensure that this sort of, murmurings don't continue. Nigerians have been saying, who are these people? And yet they keep mum.
Yeah, I know. What I'm saying is that apart from the IDPs that we have in this country, and then some other rural areas where you can see vividly that people are poor, okay? So it may be very, very difficult, to prove that, because the cash, they move cash to these areas. So it will be very, very difficult because it also leaves you with a lot of loopholes in terms of siphoning funds, because it has to do with cash. It's not even about transferring money to your account where you have
The
VPN
more
and all
reason,
that.
the more reason the federal government needs to be transparent
Of
about
course,
this.
that's what I'm saying. I say
Okay, then we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Let me move on then to Dr. Austin Sado. He's a lecturer, Department of Linguistics and Communication Studies, University of Port Harcourt. Good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning. Honestly speaking, the question of poverty in Nigeria, when you have poor of the poor, it's a big joke. We are jokers in this country. What is the definition of the poor? and the definition of the poor of the poor. As a matter of fact, Annie, I'm one of the poor people. I don't know, apart from maybe my friend Ken, who is a big man. Many of us in this studio probably will fall.
Yeah, but there's still people who are poorer.
No, the point I'm making is that
Yes.
even we who are working, we are just 1 month away from poverty. Right?
There's someone who is an hour away.
Now, well, I've been 2 months away from poverty, if that's the case. I've not been paid for 2 months. So I expect that if they are sharing money amongst the poor, I should also be a beneficiary. Well, but on a serious note, I don't think that there is any way we can be just or equitable in the distribution of resources intuitively. That's what we're doing in this country. Social justice demands that access should be given equally to people. When you talk about in a country of about 100 million, and you think that you have 1 million of the poor of the poorest, that's understating it. You can't. I mean, is it from one state or from a region that you're getting just 1 million when you know that the poverty line in this country, if you just draw it, is beyond 50%, where a lot of people are living on less than $1 a day in a family? And how much is a dollar? So when you really say poor of the poor, it doesn't make any sense. Now, to create another problem, you don't even tell us how you determine it. Then we don't even know the people you're reaching. And I heard the argument you presented earlier that, of course, which Fine Face also amplified, that the poor people will not have access. And I thought I heard you say something about Rivers State.
Yes.
Honestly speaking, I doubt how this distribution is done, because in Rivers State here, there's no way we wouldn't have heard. I'm close to the poor. And
Yeah,
we
maybe
hear,
they haven't gotten to that community because the place I heard was just one community,
No,
not
yeah.
the entire
even
state.
at that, you will expect that the way this thing permeates in society, information and all that, people will be willing to give testimony. Now, assuming without considering that they've done all that is well, and there are people they are giving this money to, is that the best the government can do at this time when the country? I mean, when you really
Is
look
that
at
all,
it,
but is that all they're doing? I thought federal government is doing other things, but for
Like-
this,
like what?
hold on, they specified that for this particular group of people, these ones who have been on their list of the most vulnerable and poor that they've been given 5,000 naira, what they will do now is give them, I think, 3 or 4 months in advance, what they said. And that's why they got to 20,000 4 months in advance. They'll give them 4 months in advance. And that's why they come up with a lump sum of 20 to these people that they have initially been giving 5,000 naira to. Aside from that, I know that there's supposed to be food that is distributed. Aside from that, there's been money that they say they're giving to state governments. Aside from that, there have been isolation centers that they're building. They're also contemplating what kind of tax cuts they can give companies. I think that not taking into consideration that they're doing other things, whether we actually see that done eventually or not, doesn't mean that the only thing they're doing now is giving this 20,000 naira. So
Will that-
20,000 naira to this very poor people.
will that be alternative to developing a country? The point I'm making is, when you come to a crisis period like this and you're giving 20,000 naira, even if you were to give every Nigerian, even if you were to give every Nigerian 20,000 naira, you still have underdeveloped the people.
But
Well, we have had opportunity in this country
There are
to
countries
move
that
to
are
move
giving-
away these
there
people
are
from
countries
this
that are
poverty.
giving cash to others.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think
How much are they giving?
I don't
No,
think,
how much?
No, hold on. My point here is that even if you're giving cash to people here,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that this is their form of development. It's like what they said, it was an aid at this period when they know things will be very, very difficult. Yes, there is a need for them to have considered the economy and done better. But if what they're doing now is to ensure that those who cannot even do without food at the moment get at least some money to get that, I don't think that is something that we should condemn them
No,
for.
it's not about condemning it, and it's looking at the value of what they are doing. If you give 5,000 naira to a family and you say 4 times 4 months, and that amounts to 20,000 naira, you have simply given about $48 in 4 months. And so you want to tell me that a family of husband, wife, and a child will live on $12 for 1 month? So we are just throwing this money into the ocean. And I'm saying that if we have been methodical, if we have thought about these people, all the pilfering that has gone on, we will have alleviated the sufferings of these people before now so that they will stand on their own.
Yeah.
And we've got to make that effort. This pittance will
Well,
solve no problem.
I don't think that there's any nation anywhere that doesn't have its poor.
Yeah, and there is one line.
At the level we have in Nigeria.
Well, we are the poverty capital, so we might.
So that's the point. So let's
have
move.
more poor
Can
people.
we
But
move
the fact
towards
that we
those
think
other
that we'll
nations?
develop
Can we think of moving
nation
towards those other
completely
nations?
to where we don't have a poor?
No,
that's not possible.
No.
No, we
But
started
the
from
point
India.
is,
Sometimes
no.
we are
The
going
point
to
is,
see this
we
for
were
another
never going to
continent.
move away because there are people who will never work,
Yeah,
who will
they-
never be serious or take
course.
responsibility. But the point is, if you have social justice, even those people who are not working, the society owe them some sense of responsibility.
All right, you're trying to say something.
Yeah, the
Francis?
line I want to draw is that even if things were in place, the way doctor is saying, they have social justice, they have a kind of empowerment. The essence of this distribution is because they want you to stay at home. So even if you had something that was running, in as much as they have asked you to suspend whatever you are doing outside and stay at home for the virus not to spread, then they now give you these little incentives. Looking at the Maslow's hierarchy of need, the basic thing people need now basically is food to be able to be alive. I think in one of the states,
a month.
it's just a kind of incentive
for people who are living
And without
at
seeing that-
less than $1 before.
before they now have 12. It's something.
No, it's still less than $1. You're talking about $12 divided by 30 days.
Exactly. If you put
That's
it
what
that
I'm
way.
saying. There were people who were living even at whatever fraction you're getting, who are living at that fraction less than.
Yes. Let's do the arithmetic.
No,
You-
12
we are
divided
not-
by
let's
30.
You don't
leave
even
that.
understand what I'm saying. No matter the
No, but,
fraction you get now,
Yes,
it
it's
is
better.
still an improvement to
I
what they
know,
were
I know.
before.
But you see,
Yeah.
the point is, if it's so bad, it's bad.
It is bad, we know, but it's
I
kind
don't
of
think anybody
incentive.
says that it is not
It's
bad.
perfect. Yeah, no.
I think what we're trying to say here is if indeed this money is getting to the people, because that's what
That
they
is what
call
we
the
are
charade.
pushing. The money
Even
should
if
get
you
to
say
the
you're
people.
giving them 20,000 naira, is that 20,000 naira getting to the right people?
That is what we are looking at.
And what you must also ask, the criteria. How did they decide? The people.
For us of the
you,
poor.
you understand?
The statistics they are
one,
using.
that's one. Two. We have seen when government says, "Oh, it's giving out something," it's about its members and all that. Is that the same
Whether,
case with the federal government?
like I said,
Those
even
are
if
the
they
kind
are
of
giving,
things that
even if they are giving their members are Nigerians.
They are
Let's just
Nigerians,
make
yeah.
sure that those people that they are
the
giving
poor of the
are
poorest
the poor of the poorest.
of Nigeria.
Let them be the
Okay.
poor of the poorest,
No
not your
problem.
members who have enough rice in
No,
their house.
no problem.
All right, let's quickly see if we can take one more story and then move on here. COVID-19, Atiku blasts federal government. Atiku PDP blasts federal government over $6.9 billion loan bid. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, and its presidential candidate in the 2019 presidential election, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, have berated the federal government for seeking a salad of loans and facilities totaling $6.9 billion to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking at the development, Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Diran Odeyemi, he said it is clear that this government is now using the coronavirus pandemic as an avenue to make more money for itself. Why do we have to seek foreign loans when the COVID-19 is a global phenomenon? Have they justified how the billions of naira raised so far have been used? Across the country, people are crying of hunger and hardship occasioned by the lockdown. Food items are not provided, and the money they claim to be sharing to the poorest of the poor is immersed in controversy. With the way things are going, it may be difficult for this government to implement any development project again. It appears they're going to tell us that they've spent the remaining 3 years fighting the virus. On his part, Atiku, who said with prioritization of projects, cutting of wastage and goods and good hands running the affairs of the nation, Nigeria does not need foreign loans to wriggle out of the prevailing situation. Atiku urged Nigerians and other African countries to look inwards and take their destinies in their hands to combat the spreading pandemic, noting that foreign help was out of reach because they have pressing challenges on account of the prevailing pandemic. Atiku said we must avoid panic, cut costs, and efficiently manage our resources. It's delusionary to borrow $6.9 billion now.
Well, PDP and Atiku, I don't expect them to praise the APC administration. However, it doesn't mean that APC administration itself is running at 100% correct path. No. The fact is that in a crisis situation, they will also be borrowing, perhaps if one doesn't have, to make sure that one is able to do what he couldn't have done without money. But, considering exactly the litany of borrowings federal government have already entered into, this 6.9 keeps on submerging Nigeria. I do not know what that stands to be, because you are talking about coronavirus. What after this COVID-19? What will the economy look like? Considering that you have to be servicing all these debts. For me, any debt now to be borrowed at foreign loan is certainly unacceptable.
All right, got your thoughts there.
Yeah, what I have to say is
Fine,
that
Chris.
I don't know why the federal government is going for borrowing right now. I think it's too early for them to go for borrowing, because the Minister of Finance made us understand that they are mopping 500 billion naira from certain, sources to raise money to share to states, and that money has been approved. 500 billion naira is available now for sharing. They also made us understand that they are raising 150 million US dollars that they will add and to what they have in the federation account and share among the 3 tiers of government for the month. They have also gotten that. And then the private sector is contributing 1 billion naira each. The UBA, for instance, contributed 2 billion to that private account. So as it is now, within the country, we've been able to raise some money to take care of ourselves. The president had also directed that about 170 trucks of confiscated rice, which some people have described as expired and unfit for use, should be distributed across Nigeria for people. So I believe that within the system, private individuals too are making things available. It is too early to go for funds now for COVID-19. Let us exhaust this period, this money we have raised, and then see how we can manage it if and give account of
And
it.
judiciously explain what we used it for. All right, then, let me get to you here.
Well,
Ken
for
Wake.
for me, I do not see the reasons for, this, I call it indiscriminate borrowing. I choose to describe it that way. You see, if you borrow and you see the impact on the economy, you begin to appreciate that.
Yes.
And then you see the impact in maybe on infrastructure and all that. Of course, it's also very, very difficult when you talk about the economy to begin to see something very positive. But to the ordinary Nigerian, you want to see improved quality of food on your table, right? Access to basic necessities of life. And so when you keep borrowing, and in some years back now, I did a study on the excruciating pains of external debt, and then what the Obasanjo government did, to take Nigeria out of that problem at the time. But I see this era, this administration particularly, of too much borrowing. You see, for me, ordinarily, I also look at people surviving and all that. Sometimes people need to borrow to survive, but if you also borrow, you manage it carefully, you won't have problems, and then you live up to your repayment principles and all that. You won't have problems. But when you borrow and you are not able to manage it very well, when you borrow, if that does not replicate on the economy, on the infrastructure that we have, on the people, and then it becomes very, very difficult that you are heaping, a lot of burdens on unborn Nigerians. And so why I want to applaud the present government, in tackling some of the major challenges that we have, there should be caution in the manner we are borrowing.
All right, then, for your thoughts there. Let me move on quickly to Austin Sado as we wrap up on the newspaper review.
Well, for me, borrowing as a principle is really not wrong. It is the application of the fund that is a problem. And that has actually been a problem for us in this country. You want to fight COVID-19, and for me, you want to borrow and you just say you want to fight COVID-19. How do we measure the outcome of that fight if we don't know exactly what you are applying it to? If you want to set up molecular laboratories in the CIS geopolitical zone and say, we want to use this as an opportunity to make sure we have research laboratories in this area, or want to do this, we can now measure its outcome. We can determine that the objective is right, is measurable, and we can calculate whether or not we have achieved something. To just say we want to fight COVID is too general. It's too general, and it will amount to just some of the things we have done in this country. Principal officers of government sharing loot and making the people pay for it.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Newspaper review wrapped up. News update up next.
You insist takes care of you. This is Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt, voice of the people. Every day, every hour, when the big stories break, depend on our 24-hour news team to bring you the latest. Today 95.1 FM.
Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. News update.
Hello and good morning. Here's the news update on Today 95.1 FM. I am Annie Abdul Salam. 2 pilots of Calverton helicopters have been remanded in the Nigerian Correctional Center for allegedly disobeying the executive order of the River State Governor Nyesom Wike. The 2 pilots are identified as Samuel Ugorji and Samuel Buhari. Chief Magistrate D.D. Ihwa Maduneyi remanded the pilots in the Port Harcourt Correctional Center until May 19, 2020, when the trial will commence, and also ordered that they be subjected to the COVID-19 tests to ascertain their status. The pilots had earlier been arrested by the police for flouting the state government's directive by flying unknown passengers into the Air Force Base. In the meantime, Calverton Helicopters has described the arrest and remand of 2 of its pilots as unjust. In a statement, the airline disclosed that at the start of the COVID-19 lockdown, it received a letter from its clients stating that it had been given approval, an exemption to fly and continue operations. It also said it got another approval from the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority to fly for the oil and gas sector, adding that it has been flying along the guidelines for the past 7 days. The statement said the pilots were charged and remanded despite pleas by the company's lawyers, who showed the relevant documents from the federal government. It added that the pilots did not violate any law and appealed to the federal government to ask the River State government to release them. Nigeria has recorded 16 new cases of coronavirus, which brings the total number of COVID-19 infections in the country to 254. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control disclosed the updated figure in a tweet yesterday. 10 of the new cases were discovered in Lagos, and 2 infections were confirmed in the Federal Capital Territory. Oyo has recorded 2 new infections, while Delta and Katsina states recorded their first cases of COVID-19. On the foreign scene, the United States has recorded the most coronavirus deaths in a single day, with more than 1,800 fatalities reported yesterday. It brings the total number of deaths in the country to nearly 13,000. The U.S. has more than 398,000 confirmed cases, which is the highest number in the world. However, during a media briefing, President Donald Trump said the U.S. might be getting to the top of the curve. And that wraps the news update here on Today 95.1 FM. Thank you for listening. To have a lovely day.
It's Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt, voice of the people. Port Harcourt, are you ready? Today 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
Fellow Nigerians, in these trying times of the spread of the coronavirus, let's stay safe by taking all safety measures available. With false information likely to spread on social media platforms, we urge the general public to trust information only from verified sources. Coronavirus is real. We suggest that you use this period to play games, study art, simply take your mind off of the thought of this virus. If it is not a necessity, please stay at home. Spread hope, not fear. Ebola faded away, this too shall pass. Keep the faith. We need you to stay safe to enjoy your 10% return on investment from us. This message is brought to you by Returns Market Investment Nigeria Limited.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
Wake up to today's quest.
Wake up.
All the news and information you need in one go. Get started with the best of sports, lifestyle, analysis, and Annie.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Can you feel it? Wake up to today's quest with Annie on Today 95.1 FM from 6 to 11 a.m. weekday.
Were loots within this. Nigerian funds was looted by the Melody in Uniport says Madam Jonah is yet to come in terms. Tell him that investigation is not what he's supposed to stay under the direct superintendence or control of President Muhammadu Buhari. but which lamentably has been taken over by a category of aides who speak in the name of the president. The foregoing piece of information, the de facto president. Since a fish rots from the head, the kind of dereliction that has led to the situation where surrogates now act in the name of their principals has apparently permeated our entire bureaucratic setup, which was why a mere assistant in the Federal Ministry of Finance could, in the name of the country, act like a beggar with a bowl seeking ventilators from the billionaire businessman Elon Musk. That a relatively junior officer could make such unauthorized request, as the Minister of Finance would later claim, will be both outrageous and unprecedented adventure in the past. He has been prompted both because, in spite of the absence of Abba Kyari, who has himself become a topic of interest following his evacuation, it is probable that he lingered a few and got him to seek treatment outside. Initial reports had it that his destination was Lagos, but in what looked like an attempt to discredit the news, this was neither denied nor confirmed by the presidency. The mystery being created around the reports of the health of the president's chief of staff will be cleared by the man himself in a personally signed statement in which he confirms his infection with the coronavirus. He went further to say in the statement that he'll be seeking treatment on his own bill. Yet days after the release of his statement, Abba Kyari's whereabouts still remain a mystery. He has neither been spotted in Lagos, where reports say he would be, nor has he been reported at any isolation centers in Lagos or anywhere else in the country. So, where is he? To whom can anyone turn for inquiry when the president may not be expected to be kept in whereabouts for? Is it not only following COVID-19 treatment protocol and not conducting oneself in a respectful manner, that is without regard for privilege in the manner of the president's daughter? All of this was accompanied with a still image of the back view of the president's daughter, whose face must not be seen. Anonymous presidency wrote a response that was supposed to be a witty dig to Professor Wole Soyinka, who had demanded in a widely circulated statement. Shehu said Soyinka stepped outside his area of competence as a writer in response to the pandemic. This Soyinka's comment was not about the science of COVID-19. From the queue here, where the caption states, this presidency still can't get it right. And this comes on the heels of the several other issues that we've had here on the newspaper review, where we mentioned the fact that the PDP and Atiku chided the federal government on the need to take a loan. We also spoke on how, what's the name? Onoso pilfered the entire money, and this is why they're now ready to take away subsidy. One of the issues that I think has dogged this presidency over the years is its seeming silence on certain accusations, and how sometimes he just keeps quiet. And that was captured by Rotimi Fasan here. Maybe they keep quiet just because they don't want for a banter with journalists, with Nigerian people, so that we know where we're headed. But for a long period, this presidency has been styled in the form where his aides are the ones that engage Nigerians. And for some, it has left a lot of sour milk in our mouths. Just recently, we just discussed about the 20,000 naira given to the most vulnerable. And I think ever since that news broke, one of the ringing questions has been, how did they get this assuage Nigerians will come up with what actually they're doing, how they're doing it, and then, convince Nigerians that this is not just another form of pilfering Nigerians' funds.
That's in place. Now look at Maina's case. What's the Attorney General, what's his name, will say something differently. And the people will say that hunger, this senior special assistant to president came out and said, no, the
Femi
other,
Adesina.
came out and said they were welling wellers. So such comments, you see, when you keep quiet in that fashion, and during campaign, to earn the confidence of the about even 6 fight against the virus, it became inexhaustible. But Nigerians have been talking about, tell us exactly what you have done. So for me, I think the presidency, perhaps by its chairman, the president, are choosing this path. And the Abba Kyari have said, they keep on talking about Abba Kyari. It is the president that made him, that placed the kind of cap he's wearing on his head. because he is not elected. He was appointed by the president. So Nigerians are not owing their allegiance to him, but to the president that was elected, who they elected. So whichever thing Abba Kyari is doing, the president has given him that cover. So when I look at Abba Kyari myself, I do not visit him with much vengeance or annoyance, because he is somebody that I just said, president said, work here as my chief of staff. And so if he's derailing, it is the duty of the president to tell him, no, don't do all these things you are doing. The president allows him to do them. So it is truly, if you look at the pattern the president has adopted, because I still call it adopted, they can't tell.
They still haven't gotten it right. Because we cannot be pessimistic over a people, a system that we cannot really do anything to change till 2023. So in as much as they are there, put up, that is our duty as Nigerians. So this is what you're not doing right. This is how talk. We must continue to raise the president appointed. There are certain insinuations in a lot of quarter government, and you hear things that they are not supposed to say, they are saying it. Now, if you try to compare America with Nigeria, you see that the COVID-19 team in America is almost headed by the American president. Whenever they come forward to address the nation, which they are doing almost every day, like they are also doing in Nigeria, you have the president involved in that team. And the president shares his seal, that seal that you see the president of the United States of America with his mic. The moment it comes to something that someone else should speak, he steps away. And you see an ordinary person who is not the president of America coming on that podium and speaking from there. That is to say, he has passion. And that is the kind of thing we want for Nigeria. But now we are not having it. We have the committee in place. And now, like the writer said, a junior staff in the ministry making demand on behalf of the country. Something that ought not to have come forward from that kind of person. Even the minister that is the political head of the ministry have not made that kind of demand. And at that level of the minister even making that demand, he's supposed to take clearance from the president before he does that, because he's acting on behalf of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that kind of demand you make outside the boundary and the borders of this country becomes international relations you are going into. And you cannot go into international relations as an appointee of government that is not in charge of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Even the Minister of Foreign Affairs taking certain decisions that has to do with other countries, you must clear with the president. But because there is no direct coordination of effort and communication within the presidency, everybody coming forward to speak, you have this kind of mutilation and things that ought not to be happening within the system. But in all, I believe that we can still get it right by continuing to talk about things that are not going well and offering advice, suggestions, and recommendations on how it should be done for us to move forward as a country.
Okay, your thoughts there. And let's get on down to Dr. Ken Wenke.
Yeah, for me, and the presidency, because what is happening to us is a function of bad followership as well. Yeah.
Well, let's look before you change the entire concept.
I'm not changing.
No, yes, you are. He particularly look at the actions from the presidency. The things Nigerians are doing, the things followers are doing. That's a different ballgame entirely. He's looking at actions of the presidency, the handlers, and the president. And he's related to the fact that it is synonymous with the system they came on board with. And that regardless the need to change it, they haven't done it. And this is why he's saying that they still haven't gotten it right. Now, that is where we want to premise the conversation on. If you're bringing followers in and how this has enabled this to be, it's a different ballgame entirely.
Of course, that's my starting statement. And so...
I hope it's the ending statement. So
it's my starting statement. It's the premise on which I want to, look at this. Yeah, he said the presidency can't get it right. I'm not also seeing a very competent presidency as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not also seeing a very competent presidency after this one.
Let's stick with this one. No.
Ali, allow me to flow.
I know.
You know,
we
allow
can't
me to
open
flow.
that scope. No.
No, we are not opening.
Yes, you
But
are.
the-
You're
no.
trying to say we'll not see now,
We
we'll
will-
not see later.
I'm
Let's
entitled to
just
it.
judge. No, unfortunately, as much as you're entitled to that kind of conversation, entitled to navigating it the way I need it on the show, and it is just squarely looking at this presidency alone.
Of course, for me, the presidency has a choice on how to run his administration. So if he chooses to respond or not to respond to any issue, it is his choice. And it's Nigerians that elected the president, and they have done so. They have given him the mandate to do so up to 2023. And so if the presidency chooses, the kind of responses that he wants to make or not to make and order, it is within the purview of the presidency. And so if, like we have in the United States of America or elsewhere, where, the presidents of these countries are in charge of this COVID-19 issue, yeah, that's the choice for those countries and order. And it shows you clearly, I come back to the followership again. It shows you clearly when a president that's elected, a political leader that's elected, becomes responsible, responsive to the aspirations of his people.
This choice that they have adopted here is what we're looking at. Is that the best choice to have taken? Because you voted for the people. You voted. You canvassed for the people to vote for you. You said you can deliver. You said you could do the job. And then at the point where they expect that they see you take the lead and initiate the move, you decide that you've got spokespeople, you decide that you have ministries to handle it, and you will just take the back seat. Like you said, it's a style. And Rotimi Fasan is saying, well, they haven't gotten it right with that style.
So who is Rotimi to determine that the presidency is not getting it right?
A fellow Nigerian like you and I.
Of course.
That's why we're asking you.
He's also expressing his own opinion.
That is why we asked you. Do you agree with him?
I don't agree with him.
That is it.
Because every administration has got its own style. The only thing we are talking about here is this style. The generality of Nigerians. How has this style been able, to impact on us, And that's the question. And Rotimi, has stated his own side of the story. And so for me, it's not also about how many times the president or a political leader comes out to address his people that you are doing something. It goes beyond that. But it shows you clearly too that, you said I shouldn't touch there, and I will continue to touch. That Nigeria,
I'll continue to move you away from there if you continue to touch.
Nigeria,
and if I think you will not stay away from there, I'll move on to the next person.
Nigerians have a lot to learn from what is happening today.
Right.
Because, of course, when you have a presidency, you're talking about presidency here. Presidency goes beyond the one man. And so, all his aides, what his aides do...
So, at the point where you see the aides more than you see the one man...
No. I understand
that's what he's
thing.
saying.
Yes, if you are...
That's more than we see the one man. That's why we see certain aides and junior officers in several ministries who are taking initiatives that they should not.
I'm not...
And pretty much, he's trying to say they're taking...
That it may not... This style may not be okay for the generality of Nigerians. Fine. But at least if this style is yielding dividend for us, we may not have enough ground to question, this style. So, but the problem here is that a lot of things are getting spoiled. And that's why Nigerians are getting, worried. It's not about, coming out to speak. Trump, having come out to speak every day and order, has it ameliorated, the spread that we have, the spread of COVID-19 in America? But then, it shows you clearly that a leader, it's just also like what the governor of Rivers State is doing presently. You see him all over the place of the government. That is a style, that's a choice. And for me, I go with him with that style and order. And so, because when you talk about responsibility, the presidency...
Do you go with the presidency with their style? You
go
you go with Rotimi, you go with Wike's own here.
Yeah, that is a choice.
Do you go with the presidency and their style?
For me, I do not go with him. I have said that is a style. But in adjusting, the kind of in adjusting to the kind of responses that we have,
yes,
and the kind of dividend that we have, of course, it tells you clearly that this particular presidency, cannot be moved by anything.
Perhaps the reason why he said they
Of course,
still
they haven't
haven't
moved
gotten it
until
right
2023.
because they can't seem to be moved by
What
whether
are you
Nigerians
moving?
feel like.
Can you recall him?
Whether
What
if-
others can you do?
That's the
Brother, we're
unfortunate
missing-
system that we are in. That we can't even get our lawmakers perhaps to call him to order because
But the
system is
lawmakers
in
are
place.
also working.
That's why I'm
Are
saying.
you not seeing the National
That's what
Assembly
I'm saying.
responding to?
That's what I'm saying. That unfortunately, look at the choice of words. Unfortunately, but that doesn't mean that, like you also pointed out, a lot of Nigerians feel this way. It might be a style, it might be a choice,
Yeah.
but this is what Nigerians feel. And if this is the position Nigerians feel, I can imagine if they had to take a chance on their feelings and change a system, that means they will take this government out. But unfortunately, they can't do that. It has to come through the lawmakers. Lawmakers are not interested in doing that at the moment.
Of course, Annie, what Rotimi has been writing is on presidency. And so if he has aides that are competent, of course, if these things they are doing or saying, replicate on our lives, and then we have positivities and all that, we won't complain. And so why we are complaining now is that we feel that things are getting wrong. And so probably this style of leadership, has to be looked into. But somebody cannot learn how to walk at old age.
All right,
You should understand.
Got your thoughts there. Dr. Austin Sade, let me move on to you now.
Yeah, unfortunately, Annie, on the issues of governance, there's a limit to which you can be idiosyncratic. You just have to follow certain rules. Femi Adesina said about 3 weeks ago that not talking, he categorically said so, that not talking is the style of the president. And they have not, I don't think that they have taken time to evaluate that style, whether it has worked or it hasn't worked. But to the generality of people, we don't think that it has worked. And for me, I think that it's marks of incompetence. You can't give what you don't have. And I think that the rigors of leading or providing leadership, I don't think that our president has the capacity to withstand that rigor. And so he has appointed people to surround him, proxy presidents, so to say. You recall that when the administration started during the second tenure, which, as far as I know, is a departure from the norm, that it was said that the chief of staff, even ministers, will pass through the chief of staff. The secretary to government of the federation used to be the anchor. And now the chief of staff is the anchor. Even the secretary to government has to pass through the chief of staff. That tells you how powerful that the president has made that office. And that is because the president doesn't have the capacity to deliver on the promises he has made to Nigerians. So he has looked for people he believes that are going to deliver on that. Unfortunately, even if it's for mere symbolism, it is him that Nigerians elected. No matter how excellent these people will be, we will still believe that they don't have the power of the office of the president, and there's a limit to what they can deliver to the people. So when it comes to critical moments like this, we'll look up to the president, and it's to be expected. I mean, in Mali, after the attack on their military, the president went with them on the front line. I'm not expecting our president to go and fight Boko Haram, but it's just symbolism. It's showing that you're leading from the front. People have also made comparison with Trump and with Boris Johnson and all that. World leaders at a point and time of conflict and crisis must be
Take the lead.
visible, because you give hope to the people who are fighting on your behalf. You give hope to the masses who are losing hope, who are fearful, and they see you. Until Boris Johnson was taken into hospital, even in isolation, he was still communicating. He was still talking to the people. By the way, we know where Boris Johnson is, the Prime Minister of Britain. We know where he is. We don't know where Abba Kyari is.
No.
So how do you lead a people? And he was arrogant about it. He said, I'm going to take care of myself. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's the ranting of one who is not well informed about the policies of government. What is he telling us? That he's got the money to take care of himself? What business has he done in his life? other than being in public office? And if we put together all the amount of money that is expected to earn even in those offices, is it what is worth? It shouldn't make us think as if we don't understand what life is all about. So for me, then the issue of secrecy, I don't think that these people actually understand what public opinion means. In well-organized societies, you will have been seeing polls now. Do we have poll stars in Nigeria who are going to tell us what the people feel about other than what we are doing now?
Exactly.
So if we have it overseas, you will also see that it counts. In those civilized environments, you see that it counts. But when it comes here, we're going to dissipate energy about what's the source of that pool. Is it from the
Who is
north
behind
of
it?
the
Yes.
sun? What political interest and all that and all that. Nobody is going to look at the science, the scientific procedure or methodology of coming to such conclusions. And that's a sad commentary about us as a nation. But for the presidency, whether you talk about key
Administration,
we hardly see the president. As a matter of fact, on that day, we came here to talk about it. When the president made his broadcast, that broadcast, of course, caused more confusion than clearing issues, because we talked about it the previous week, where people started looking at the backdrop, people started looking at where it was recorded and where it was not recorded, whether it was in Nigeria and all that. It is for this same reason of visibility or non-visibility that people are making such arguments. Otherwise, if the president stepped forward and addressed people and took questions from journalists, it will go a long way. In fact, there's this well, I don't know what social media kind of information that the president himself is not even well, because nobody knows, nobody sees him. We need to see him. We know his age. We probably understand his frailties. But even in that state of frailty, we still expect a leader that we have put in office, and you can't give it out to another person.
I mean, you're talking about his age. Zimbabwe, before he left, was always in the face of his people.
So there's nothing wrong about it. And so when Additional said, is his style, I didn't quite get what he meant by his style. But of course, if you go to talk about rejoinders generally, I'm going to, as a professional, rejoinders, there are certain rejoinders that you
ignore.
You just ignore. For the simple reason that when you do those rejoinders, a number of people who didn't even know about it, depending on how damaging it is, people who didn't know about it will know about it. They're going to ask more questions. They are probably going to cause more problems for you. Yeah. This doesn't work for this administration, because there is no point you're going to pick on this administration and you clearly see that they are giving information. And where people don't have information, hope in our president. I mean, look at the Queen of England. The Queen of England appears on television, and you saw the candor, you saw the serenity, you saw the courage with which she said, "We're going to win this fight." The moment the Queen said that, whatever happened to Boris Johnson was inconsequential, because the Queen said, "If you do your part, we're going to win this fight." That galvanized the people. If you look at what's happening in the street, the number of persons who were already coming out, going to the waterfront and all that, people started going back home because the Queen has said something, and we saw the Queen, we saw her state. Even when it was rumored that the son had contact with her before he was positive, and people were even skeptical, they were afraid for her. But when we saw the Queen, we saw that, I mean, she couldn't have been better than the way she looked, for in my view, considering her age. So we need a president that truly understands why he is president. I don't think I think that, for me, I may be wrong, but my assessment of this president is that the office is a symbol for him. He hasn't come to make any difference. He doesn't have a blueprint for Nigerians, but he has been a military leader. And some other persons who have been military leaders have also become civilians.
Well, I think there is a blueprint. This is how I say. I think there is a blueprint, but perhaps he's just allowed a lot more of.
Maybe we need a red print now.
He's just allowed a lot more of his aides and his and other agents in his administration take the lead in
blueprint
discharging
is
some of.
it's not being actionable.
I think there's a blueprint.
Let's
You'll be
change it
unfair
to
to
red
say-
print. Maybe it's
You'll be unfair to say there's. I think there is one, and I think that, like you said rightly, in a case like we have now, even though there are palliatives in court now, supposedly being rolled out, people still look forward to their leader to tell them things. Tell
Exactly.
them, tell me stay at home. Tell me the doctors are coming in. They just want to hear the leader that they elected say that. It's a different thing when Garba Shehu tweets it. It's a different thing when Femi Adesina writes an epistle and publishes it on the paper. It's very different from when the president decides, I want to speak to my people and this is what I need to say to them. I know completely that over the years, this is what people always look forward to. And the fact that, the entire system of his administration hasn't been one where you can engage the president directly on, issues going on. It has always been the aides or somebody else who is tackled with that business. And I think that is what other ministries somehow have adopted. Recently was the scandal of somebody within the Ministry of Finance who had tweeted to Elon Musk saying, look, Nigeria is in dire needs of these respirators. Please send about hundreds to us. Of course, Elon Musk was the first who initiated it. He put it out on Twitter and said, anybody who is in need, governments who are in need, just contact us at this handle or that, and we'll do the needful. He went on to do that. The ministry came out to say, well, they didn't authorize it. It was embarrassing because, well, it's the Ministry of Finance. It's not NCDC. It's not the Ministry of Health. Finance, the one asking for this. And we've also seen again, NCDC engaged with, was it Customs now or who? Arguing over figures. We have this NCDC that's supposed to be doing that. Somebody within, and people just said, it is the fact that we don't understand when the head or the initiator of a sector is supposed to take the lead in areas that pertains to them. And who is the presidency? Babashir. And then so was it that anybody within the system could issue letters or say anything? That I think has influenced how some of these ministries have handled themselves. The interchange we have seen between them. Remember also
What if it is for these values that these people were actually appointed to come and do the work of the president?
No.
to do the work of the president. How is that even possible? You mean the president realized I can't do this?
Exactly. I said, Femi Adesina is going to talk for me. This guy is going to say, and gives them.
So
a
Femi
brief.
Adesina will say whatever he wants to say.
Exactly. And say, well, you have become you are my you are my public.
You must understand. You must understand that when you have presidency, yes, subservient to one person who should take responsibility.
Good.
Right? No doubt. But he has written of aides that makes up the presidency.
No,
and so, hang on, sir.
No,
hang
sir.
on, sir. Hang on, sir.
You have said this before. We try to avoid it.
No.
You are
Hang on.
political
Okay, wait,
scientist. I'm a
let's-
political communicator.
hold on.
And we
Let
can
him
go
just-
on this.
Yes, both of you will
Hang
not go
on.
on. You just finish. Finish first.
You said here clearly that probably Adesina may have been appointed, to be speaking.
I'm
to do
giving
the
you a
speaking.
theory to work on now.
No. So, what's the call the other person?
Femi Adesina?
No.
Garba
Shehu. Garba Shehu can tweet. I don't see.
And do you
Adesina
realize?
tweeting.
Did
He
you
doesn't
realize?
tweet.
Do you realize that in the early years of this government, there was some sort of I don't know to call it now
Conflict.
between Adesina and Garba.
Yes, of
as
course.
in
Who
takes charge of certain things.
Of course. And most of the times then,
It was
the Garba
Femi Adesina.
but Garba was
Femi
teaching
Adesina was the one at the forefront initially.
initially.
Yes.
But later on,
Garba
Garba took over.
overtaking him.
But I am seeing the two of them working together now. On one hand, on the other hand.
Maybe they say
But-
you handle Twitter.
this one and the other. But see, let us look at this. For me, you see, if all of these choices of one man, the president, are bringing value for us as a people, we won't have
Will
complaints.
Nigerians be-
yes,
Nigerians will not be complaining.
I know what I'm saying. You see, given his age, that's why I said you can't learn how to work at old age. You see, we know, with due respect to the president, that he does not have the kind of strength, that Donald Trump has, okay, to come out on a state TV, and then censor
the media and all that. You know him. He can say, "Oh, fine face. No, I don't want to take your comment and all that." He goes to the next person and all that. That is a style of one man who has done so much, to get the support of his people. But the question is, this kind of style, that different leaders, adopt. How have they been able, to address the problem of the people?
I think you've answered that.
So, yes,
you've answered that already.
Yeah, I said that.
It's because of the style itself, and that Nigerians have not felt commensurate satisfaction.
That's why we're getting worried.
That's why we're worried.
Yeah, and I said, and you stopped me.
And rightly so.
Yes, and you stopped me when I said that is a big lesson for Nigerians going forward. And you say, I shouldn't talk about
because
that.
we're not looking for big lessons going forward.
Yet.
We're not looking for big lessons going forward.
I say it's a big lesson.
We're not looking for big lessons going forward. We're looking for the big lessons
present
right
lesson now.
This lesson now here for the presidency. For the presidency, really not for Nigerians, but the lessons that the presidency must acknowledge. That regardless what they're doing, what palliatives you're putting out, actions they are taking in, there's certain things they are doing within their system. There's certain things they're doing within the system that has caused Nigerians to be as uncomfortable as they are now. And if indeed they want to remain the champions of taking Nigeria out of the dregs, then they must fix the problems within them.
Now, Danny, that's why you said I shouldn't say what I'm saying. You see, yes, if all of this is happening, okay, so what lessons are we learning from it?
I've told you the lessons is not for Nigerians. The lessons for today is
for
the presidency.
The presidency
is
to learn.
To learn.
Yes.
And so nobody is learning because he has a tenure of 2019 to 2023.
Well, I don't know. Nobody's learning. Maybe today, if they listen to us, they might just learn today.
You see, and let me ask you. On a daily basis, you get reports from the COVID committee and all that. Are you not getting updates? And so what are you asking in the first place? If he chooses not to be talking to Nigerians directly, and then those he puts, as a part of the machinery to drive this are also doing the work. So what is your problem?
And sometimes
we just
don't know where he is.
No. See,
we just explain to you what the problem is.
Where else?
I don't know. I don't know if it's Aso Rock.
Is it Aso Rock?
I don't know.
You know.
I don't know.
You know.
How will I know?
The president cannot leave the shores of this country without Nigerians.
Hasn't it happened before?
No, it has not happened.
When he traveled, one of medical
what stops the president from leaving?
Abba Kerry is not the president.
But where is he now?
Thank you very much.
I'm
happy you know.
Question.
Yes,
if Abba Kerry can leave, what makes you think that the president himself can't leave like that?
He cannot.
Wow.
He owes Nigerians. No, of course he owes Nigerians.
I'm happy he admits that Abba Kyari and Adesina and Garuba are not the president.
Of course they are not.
Thank you.
And then we were told that Abba Kyari was moved to Lagos.
The same president was away for over 100 days, and they say Nigerians should not know where he is.
Who?
Did
Abba
we know?
Kyari?
No, the president.
He's in Aso Rock. Where?
No, when he traveled and we didn't know where he was.
No. You can't say that.
Dr. What I'm only saying is that
you can't say that.
If you know that Garuba and
it's not him saying it. It's a matter of whether it happens or it didn't happen.
Cannot leave. The aircraft cannot leave Nigeria without Nigerians knowing. Where else? Where did he leave from?
I don't understand. Where in London was he? Couldn't he have been in 1,001 places?
How?
Why not?
So if he goes for a private visit and all that, and so what is the problem?
Please, Kendrick, I just noticed that you're just seeking to make arguments out of nothing. It's very possible if he wants to be anywhere else without the rest of us knowing, it is very possible for him to do that.
Then he was in London.
Absolutely possible.
Then he was in London.
Like I said, if he wants to go anywhere without the rest of us knowing, he can absolutely do that. So if we're not getting daily updates from him in Aso Rock delivering statements or actually at work, it is okay for as many Nigerians who wish to think he's not there to think so.
Annie, this matter, I think we don't need to overflog it, and it seems we are moving it from the focus point. Now, our greatest worry and the person we want at the center stage is the president, because we voted for him. We want him to take charge, to drive the whole process of making Nigerians understand what is on ground and steps being taken to getting these things done. Then I also know what it meant to have authority delegated. Now, the delegation of authority, which is what he has done through the ministers he appointed at the political heads of the various ministries, they are also doing their work. If he has chosen as his own style to let them run what they are doing while he relaxes, well, it's not too bad, but we should get what we need to get from that system. I know quite well that after Abba Kyari left Aso Rock and the complaints about him being infested in Aso Rock came forward, they have fumigated Aso Rock. That has been done. And weeks later, we also saw the president washing his hand and telling Nigerians how to wash their hands. I believe he's also taking some steps, but those are not the perfect thing that we need. And it is now, if we must talk about...
See, we must remember again that this is not just because of his actions during this COVID-19 period.
Exactly.
We're looking of an entire period
Mm-hmm.
of 6 years that he's been on board.
Yeah.
And, the general feel from the actions he's
His
taking.
adamant attitude.
And we've got Nigerians who are saying, well, Rotimi Fasan says this is a president that hasn't gotten it right. And for me, I think it is a direct... shall I say, a direct influence of what we saw in the presidency that has caused the chains of squabbles or overstepping of office within all the other ministries and agencies, as we have seen over the couple of years this president has been on board.
Yes, and why it is so, Annie, is because Mr. Buhari and his system of leadership, he is presiding over a system where you have strong men and non-strong institutions. Buhari will function fine with the way he is going if he's leading America, where the institutions are working.
Yeah.
So he needs to be in charge and push things to happen, because we're in a country where if you don't press button, things don't move.
Indeed. All right. This is wrapped it up. I guess maybe the next topic will come up with won't be as heated as this. But stay with us. We're at the forefront of things here. We don't have AIDS. We'll speak for ourselves here.
Well, the adamant attitude, working partially and not working the other way. So everything works together for good.
Oh, Nigerians haven't seen the good.
There's no good.
There's no Nigerians haven't seen the good. We'll be right back. The news update comes up next.
Has never been this good. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. Every day, every hour, when the big stories break, depend on our 24-hour news team to bring you the latest. Today, 95.1 FM.
Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. News update.
Hello and good morning. Here's the news update on Today 95.1 FM. I am Annie Abdul Salam. The chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, says only President Muhammadu Buhari has the powers to extend or end the lockdown in Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun State. Mustafa, who is also the secretary to the government of the Federation, made the observation at the briefing of the Presidential Task Force in Lagos. The SGF, however, noted that the president will have to review the recommendations of the team set up to monitor the various measures to curtail the spread of coronavirus before taking a decision. The SGF explained that members of the task force were in Lagos to inspect the isolation centers in the state. Nigeria has recorded 16 new cases of coronavirus, which brings the total number of COVID-19 infections in the country to 254. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control disclosed the updated figure in a tweet yesterday. 10 of the new cases were discovered in Lagos and 2 infections were confirmed in the Federal Capital Territory. Oyo has also recorded 2 new infections, while Delta and Katsina states recorded their first cases of COVID-19. 2 pilots of Carverton helicopters have been remanded in the Nigerian Correctional Center for allegedly disobeying the executive order of the River State Governor Nyesom Wike. The 2 pilots are identified as Samuel Ugoji and Samuel Buhari. Chief Magistrate D.D. Ihua Madineyi remanded the pilots in the Port Harcourt Correctional Center till May 19, 2020, when the trial will commence, and also ordered that they be subjected to the COVID-19 test to ascertain their status. The pilots had earlier been arrested by the police for flouting the state's government's directive by flying unknown passengers into the Air Force base. The Labour Party in River State has joined in asking Governor Nyesom Wike to extend the time within which markets will be open on the 7th and 8th of April. The state chairman of the Labour Party, Prince Favour, made the call while fielding questions from newsmen in Port Harcourt. Favour said the 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. opening times will lead to overcrowding in the markets, which will defeat the social distancing policy of the government. The Labour Party chairman also condemned the appointment of the chairman of the People's Democratic Party in River State, Desmond Akao, as the chairman of the Palliative Committee on COVID-19, which he said appears to be for only PDP members. On the foreign scene, the United States has recorded the most coronavirus deaths in a single day, with more than 1,800 fatalities recorded yesterday. It brings the total number of deaths in the country to nearly 13,000. The U.S. has more than 398,000 confirmed cases, which is the highest number in the world. However, during the media briefing, President Donald Trump said the U.S. might be getting to the top of the curve. And with that, we wrap up on the news update. Do remember to continue on social distancing and self-isolation if you have just returned to the country, and practice washing your hands more often. Thank you for listening. Stay on the dial.
Court, are you ready? Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
Radio has never been this good. Today, 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
With the dawn of the global pandemic, coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, we have been advised to self-isolate and observe social distancing rules. We at Today 95.1 FM want to tell you that while you self-isolate, it is important that you take this time out to get a skill, improve on your old and existing skills, read a book, listen to educational tapes, work out if you need to, bond with your family. Don't just spread fear and panic, self-isolate and grow. Make this time count for you. This message is brought to you by Today 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
In Emoha local government area congratulate their eminent son, Professor Nlerum Okobule, on his well-deserved appointment as the Vice Chancellor of the Rivers State University by the Amiable Governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Barrister Nyesom Wike, CON. The appointment is not surprising. The Odegu clan is also confident that a progressive man like Professor Nlerum can achieve the dream of RSU in line with the vision of His Excellency. The Odegu clan pray God to guide your decisions. Signed, High Chief Obinwon Lambert, UJP, FNIVS, Chairman for Rumodogu Community. Eze Sir David Wodo, JP, Secretary for Rumehuo Community. Eze John Arigunwo for Rumuji Community. Eze Dr. Obisike Nduma for Ovogu Community. Eze Edward Dinkpa for Eveku Community.
Health is wealth. Let's join hands together to defeat COVID-19 pandemic. Kindly adhere to the following precautionary measures to stay safe. Stay at home. Maintain social distancing. Avoid crowded places. Wash your hands frequently with soap. Avoid touching your mouth, nose, and eyes. Make sure you cough and sneeze into the bend of your elbow. Avoid handshaking, hugging, and close communication. Our safety and well-being is completely our responsibility. So let's stay safe, let's stay alive. This message is brought to you by Hantech Market, the broker you can trust. All right, it's a beautiful time and a beautiful season. Amidst the fear, amidst the panic, amidst the paranoia, life is still ongoing and opportunities are still there. Nations are rising, nations are falling, but we are here to give you opportunities that would surpass your imagination. Why? Because this opportunity is available to you and it's online, so it is COVID-19 free. And I have someone in here in the studio with me who would educate us on what opportunities avail you and how we can take advantage of those opportunities. This is Hantech Markets, and you're welcome this lovely day. And I have Mr. Mike Fowokpe in the studio with me. Good day, Mike.
Good day.
For those who don't know what it's about, can you just explain what Hantech Markets is to that listener who is unaware?
Okay, Hantech Market is a fintech company that started 30 years ago in Hong Kong. And then basically what do we do? We provide opportunity for people to make money. Even in this hard time, people are still making money via handtech markets. And how do we do this? In two ways. Number one, we connect people to the largest financial market in the world, where over 5.6 trillion US dollars volume traded daily. And we also provide teaching, free quality teaching to people, and that's exactly what we do. And this time around, we're going to talk about taking our teaching from offline to online, and that's exactly why we are here.
All right, so taking it offline. All right, but why is there a need for this to be online?
Well, we are in a very hard time now. COVID-19 is rampaging everywhere. I mean, government are shutting down places, and then, the government are sort of giving directive that people should maintain social distancing, and then gathering of no more than 20 people. It will be very, very unfair if we gather people in our various training centers. So, and that's why we've come up pioneering this idea of taking the class from offline to online, where using our various online video conferencing, we can educate people in the comfort of their home. I mean, using their gadgets, either their phone or their laptop, as long as it's connected to the internet. And it's the same thing that we do in our offices. We are taking to online classes.
Okay. Now, so let's talk the fintech market and, of course, the opportunities. Now, what are people supposed to expect on this online session? Is it going to be very similar to what you would get offline? What is it about?
Honestly speaking, it's the same thing, but this time around we are not gathered in our physical classroom where we do weekly in our offices and various centers. But this time around, our students will connect to us via a software that will be provided to them. I mean, it's free software. For instance, we use Zoom, and Zoom is very popular in Nigeria. So what we do is whoever is interested, we just send a link to the class online, and then the teachers, the facilitator, we kickstart. People will hear us. They will see our charts. You can imagine we reach out to more people. Do you understand? People will be in their various homes, the comfort of their homes or office, and sitting down, at the same time respecting the directive given by the government that we should maintain social distancing, and also we shouldn't converge more than 20 in a social gathering. So, and that's why we came up with this initiative that will take the teaching from offline to online. It's the same thing, and also we will reach far more people, because there are people that will say, oh, I'm in Chokoto, how do I have access to this class? This is an opportunity for them to have access to the class online.
Health is wealth. Let's join hands together to defeat COVID-19 pandemic. Kindly adhere to the following precautionary measures to stay safe. Stay at home. Maintain social distancing. Avoid crowded places. Wash your hands frequently with soap. Avoid touching your mouth, nose, and eyes. Make sure you cough and sneeze into the bend of your elbow. Avoid handshaking, hugging, and close communication. Our safety and well-being is completely our responsibility. So let's stay safe, let's stay alive. This message is brought to you by Handtech Markets, the broker you can trust. Hello everyone. Hantech Market, an award-winning financial technology firm with 30 years industry experience, pioneering taking the Forex teaching classes from offline to online using an award-winning video conferencing software. The online class will avail you the opportunity to learn how to make money in the currency market from the comfort of your home using your internet-based smartphone or laptop. You can use the sit at home as an opportunity to learn a skill set that will enable you to make money trading in the currency market. How can you take part of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? Simply SMS your name and location to this number, 0805-690-5612, and our executives will call you to reserve a space for you and also guide you through on how you can be connected to one of the online classes. Once again, SMS your name and location to this number, 0805-690 with Hantech Markets.
Okay, there are a lot of benefits. I keep telling people there's so much to be learned, and there's so much for people to also make money trading in this market. Number one, what do we actually trade? We trade currencies, right? And how do we do that? I like to give examples of what is happening in the market that we all know, the BDC market. There's a exchange rate between Naira and dollar. So for instance, Naira, I think, is 380 Naira against dollar. So if we have a know-how or understanding of economical indices, we can buy dollar at 380. If our speculation is saying that dollar is going to rally, go up to 400, so what do? We buy the dollar and keep. Then after a week or two, if our speculation is right, so we sell the same dollar at 400 Naira. So it means for every dollar, we've made a profit of 20 Naira, right? That's exactly what we do online. So we create the platform where people can have the opportunity to buy and sell online, and also we teach people how to take advantage of the market, knowing exactly when to buy and when to sell for profit. So actually it gives us the opportunity to make money. So we do this empowering people. Then what do we need to do this? I keep telling people we have everything it takes to trade online. All we need is fast internet connection, and I think Nigeria is doing very well. All our GSM provider, ISP, they have fast internet connection. We also have use electronic device, laptop or phone is enough. Okay, most times I trade on my phone, so everybody has what it takes to trade in this market. And there's opportunity for people to make money if they know what they do. And in Hantech Market, we teach people how to take advantage of the market.
All right. What are the tools that one would be veiled with at the platform Hantech Market? What makes it different from every other tool?
Number one, we have skilled professional trainers. For instance, I've been trading for 14 years. I left my lucrative banking job to do this. I'm a profitable trader, and then we have other people that are very good. So we teach people how to take advantage of this market, number one. We also show them what we are doing. So we are not like marketers who come to tell people you can do this. No, we show them exactly what we are doing. For instance, anytime I'm teaching, I show people my live trading. Over the course of 3 years. You hardly get this anywhere. I am profitable, and that's why we are teaching people exactly what has made me to be profitable in the market. So we are not marketers, we are profitable traders, teaching people exactly what to do to be profitable.
This is the Hantech Markets radio show. But before we go, we would like for you to tell us exactly how one can be a part of this online class.
Very good. If you want to learn how to take advantage of this market, making money online via our classes online, all you have to do is to send your name with a condition. If you are already trading, send your name space yes to 08056905612. I repeat, if you are already trading, if you have experience in the market and you want to take advantage of our online webinar where we teach people how to take advantage of this market, is simple. All you have to do for experienced trader is to send your name space yes to 08056905612. If you don't have experience at all in trading online, all you have to do is to send your name space no to this number, 08056905612. I repeat again, for people who don't have knowledge about trading, who want to learn how to make money, all you have to do is to send your name space no to this number, 08056905612.
All right, then. Thank you very much for listening to us right here on the Hantech Markets Radio Show. We're going to do this some other time. Stay safe. Have a wonderful.
Officer, take. Officer, give me number. No time. Ma dey match am. They go.
What? You bribing the officer of the law? You under arrest. Let me see your papers. You can go. They're in order. Drive safe, okay?
I don't understand though. No be the same country again. Officer reject bribe. They arrest me yesterday. That yesterday, I go do my papers. See as I pass now. I pass without fear. You too, make you waiting there right. For we country to better, it is for we hand. If you like, do like say you know hear am. To give or to take bribe, now offense.
Una don't hear am, abi? You hear am too, abi? You hear am. You hear am well. They themselves, they hear am. Now the voice of the people. Now him bring this message give una. Today 95.1 FM. Now we be the voice of the people.
.1 FM, voice of the people.
And we're back.
Wake up to today's quest.
Wake up.
All the news and information you need in one go. Get started with the best of sports, lifestyle, analysis, and Annie.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Can you feel it? Wake up to today's quest with Annie on Today 95.1 FM from 6 to 11 a.m. weekdays. Fantastic.
Real talk.
Real talk.
But
It is the head that is supposed to push the followers.
Today 95.1 FM, we bring you insights, intrigues, and happenings on the local politics of the Niger Delta.
But if that property you have somewhere worth that 1 billion is tied to a fraud of state money, if you can prove it's your personal money, you didn't commit any crime.
Join us every weekday, 9:45 a.m. to 11 a.m. Real talk. Keeping it real.
right, good to have you all back. 23 minutes after 10, and you're still listening to Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People. We're moving on now to Real Talk. And for Real Talk, we're looking at comments credited to the governor of Rivers State, who says, I am ready to set aside my immunity to testify against those making Rivers State vulnerable to coronavirus. Now, we have two people who have tested positive to coronavirus. One has been discharged, and then we have another, a 62-year-old, according to the governor, who he says just returned to Nigeria, came in through Lagos to Port Harcourt. It's the person who is the second positive patient for River State. And he says, well, there are people who are undermining the processes is put in place to checkmate the spread of COVID-19 or the virus that causes COVID-19 coronavirus. And he says, because of this, I am ready to check my immunity and testify against those people. Well, the River State governor on Tuesday declared that he is willing to set aside his immunity to testify against persons who violate the state borders closure regulations aimed at preventing the spread of coronavirus. Speaking at the office of the River State Commissioner of Police, Mustafa Dandaura, in Port Harcourt on Tuesday, following the arrest of two pilots of COVID as it deserves, he said, and I quote, I am inclusion to serve as deterrents to those interested in violating the regulations of the state regarding the fight against coronavirus. He said, and I quote again, I want to say this is a serious matter to us and the police must handle it seriously. That is why I'm here at the state command to show the seriousness of this issue. Nobody says that you can't go to any state, but we are now in a war situation. This COVID-19 is even worse than a conventional war. We want to know who are those people you brought in so that we have to trace them to know their identity and status. Luckily, we have seen the pilot and the co-pilot. They will assist the police to identifying them and check those coming into the state in order to ascertain. But I have the right of saying, don't enter my state because we want to know your status. He wondered why coveting helicopters decided to cut corners when the state government outlined the procedure for flying expatriates from Lagos into the state. He said, and I quote, the company wrote to us about bringing people, which I forwarded to the Commissioner of Police, to perform security checks and health officials to perform their duties before allowing them to come on. That is for those performing essential duties, but they decided to violate the regulations. Governor Wike said that his administration is duty-bound to protect Rivers people from coronavirus. He told Mustafa Dandaura the command needs to arrest the pilot and the co-pilot of coveting helicopters in the state.
You see, for me, I think the governor is right. Absolutely right. You see, the reason is simple. Now, this is time of emergency. I said this earlier. Now, even if, assuming federal government said those in oil and gas should be allowed, it doesn't mean that those in that particular aircraft or helicopter should not undergo checks. Now, these organizations, has written to the governor of the state, who has now led this blockade by way of instructions. Now, you wrote, that means you recognize that is authority. You now wrote to him. For me, I think that things that are to be done well, you should have waited and then get a reply from him. Now, if he says, no, I'm not going to allow anybody, now you resort to federal authorities that gave you the power to be flying because you belong to oil and gas. But now you don't do it. I think that it's something, it defies rationality for you to have applied and no response was given. Who said that? So that is what, for instance, he has sent to the commissioner of police. If the commissioner has said, okay, yes, these are these people and this and that, the governor would have responded to them and they have the free course to come in. The way I think, for me, the governor is right. But one thing that worries me in the whole thing is that the speed at which these two pilots so apprehended by the violation of that position of the governor were taken to prison. What did they do? Did they
violated the rules?
That's what I'm saying, but should they go straight to prison?
Where else should they go to?
For me,
you violated Well,
no, for me, I think
while we're prosecuting,
They should go
the
to
magistrate.
No.
The magistrate said
Let
remain
me
locked up.
answer.
The magistrate. I'll tell you what the magistrate said. He said because that to ensure that they do not compromise the investigations. So they need to
Yes,
be locked up.
I know very well, not though versed in law, that it's not prison that is the main place that somebody could be taken to. So does it mean if they are maybe kept somewhere else, maybe custody or whatever they call it, they'll be compromised? Then what are the officials working in that particular magistrate court doing? Why would they straight be taken to a prison? That's my worry.
All right. Okay. Let me move on now to Fine Face in a minute.
This matter is shocking and let's say worrisome to an extent. Well, the Rivers State directive that no flights comes into town, is and was an executive order. It's an executive order, and I think Rivers was one of the very first states in the federation to give this kind of directive. Like, Leti Diamin of Uganda will say that freedom of information, no problem, but what happens after you have said what you said, it depends on, is what he cannot guarantee. So that the governor did say, you can fly in, but you can't come into the state. He made that statement. And he also made mention in that broadcast how several the second broadcast also, several oil companies have written to him that based on the nature of their services, that they should be given waivers for their people to come in. And what have you, that he has not considered, that he has not granted it. And remember, what we had happen yesterday is helicopter that flew into the state, brought in some people. There are only two group of people that can afford helicopter flights into the state: politicians or oil workers. And the people that are involved in this are those I call quote unquote digital people. With one phone call from the governor or from the commissioner of police, you know the people that were on board that aircraft because their information are with them. But now what has happened has happened. And no matter what happened, the governor of Rivers State, the commissioner of police, and the person in charge of the COVID-19 committee in Rivers State cannot tell me states are closed. The airspace you can come in since that order was given. But we are being told on daily basis, boundaries to Rivers State, that people are cutting corners and coming into the state, bribing the police and coming into the state. Those information are in public domain. Yet nobody has been caught and prosecuted. Now this has happened. Now the people are taken to court. Now let's get to the courtroom. These are pilots of a recognized company in Nigeria. People that are on essential duties to make sure the oil flows. Nice companies that are paying their